Yup. Yeah, I was muted, yeah. I'm just setting up some things on my end first, that's why. I can't lie, I would have rather end the stream at this time than start it, but earlier on I had something come up, so it was a very annoying change of plans, and I didn't want to stream tomorrow because I was going to be out pretty much most of the day, and by the time I got home I would have been really tired, so I was like, fuck it, I was like, I might as well just stream now, get it over and done with. It's a break week, so I was like, I can't really be bothered to wait until the end of next week or like sometime in the middle of the week to get this out, so it's like, fuck it, why not? Preferably though, I would have wanted to talk about like with the officials, but yeah, I'm pretty much gonna be out most of the day tomorrow, so it's like, it's no point. What's up, Jason? Loki's cracked, yeah, facts. You know what was so crazy? When I was doing my little errand, I guess, I saw Morge's video. He made a video about Loki being like the world's strongest creature. I actually watched it to see what he was saying. He had some pretty interesting things to say. I might even comment on later on. Officials are important for me because of that Gaban line about Loki's fruit. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen people say that like it's because of Loki's fruit, and that's why, or like it's some special quality about Loki's fruit that can counter Harold's strength and immortality more than just what Conquerors can do. I don't agree with that interpretation, personally. I don't think that's what Gaban meant at all, or what he was insinuating, or what Harold was insinuating when he asked Loki to eat it. I don't think there's a special quality with the fruit. There could be, but I don't think that's what's going on. Loki just got powered up, like, greatly, just beyond anything Shanks and Gaban could have done. At the end of the day, like, the Zoan fruits to give you physical buffs. So if Loki, who was already very strong in his own right, he eats a very powerful mythical Zoan, his physical strength is just gonna go through the roof. And like we saw with Luffy when he awakened Nika, his haki increased as well. He just got a lot stronger. Because at the end of the day, your haki is a reflection of how strong you are. So, Loki being able to batter Harold in that way when he went into his own fruit, I think it's what's going on. I don't think it's like a unique. I don't think there's a unique quality of Loki's fruit. Although it's kind of weird to me that like Oda's trying to like gatekeep what this fruit even is. What is it? It's probably some dragonoid creature. I don't even know. Like, it feels like Kaido's hybrid all over again. That's what it feels like. But like Oda was gatekeeping a form or a design that doesn't really need to be gatekept at all. I don't. Even Luffy's, even even though the Elba fruit has been hyped up. If I compare it to like, fuck. If we compare it to like the Nika fruit, Nika is kind of, obviously it has like unique abilities as well, like the, you know, bringing imagination to life through rubber and shit like that. But I don't think these elements are like anything crazy for Oda to be, and that's from Ragnar anyway. I can't imagine what's so unique about this Elba fruit that Oda's gatekeeping it, to be honest. Hold on, I've got a couple of things to sort out. Damn. Seems like I streamed at a bad time. There were a couple of things. I had like a, I wouldn't call it a theory, but I have like a little idea that I'm just kind of testing the waters on to see how consistent it even is about the whole Loki and Shanks interaction. What's up with all these mythical zones rarer than Logia? Yeah, I'm getting tired of mythical zones, man. I'm getting tired of zones in general. I think you guys have heard me say that before. I'm just tired of zones. Ever since Wano, I've been tired of zones. Like, if there was a zone here and there, cool, but every relevant, important character being a Delphi user that happens to be a zone of some sort is just mad annoying. Did every single one of the Gorosei have to be zones? Did Shamrock have to have a zone in his sword? The zone fatigue is crazy, bro. It's nuts. Emu might be a zone. Like when Luffy was a zone, it's alright, fair enough. Fair enough, but because at that point there weren't that many mythical zones, but at this point, bro, it's like, do you think Shanks being fair and square or not? I don't think Loki got jumped. Let me start it there. I don't think Loki got jumped by Shanks. But what I was thinking about was, when did Shanks end his CP9 cosplay against the Gorosei and the Celestial Dragons? When did that stop? Because I feel like there's 2 points in time where Shanks' espionage missions ended. It was either when he stole the Nika fruit from Who's Who's ship. It's either that, or it was 6 years ago when he became an emperor. Now, most people start connecting those dots when Gaban first said that Shanks is the one that captured Loki anyway. That it might have been due to the fact that he captured Loki that he became an emperor. And Loki was saying in this chapter how he wanted to like get revenge. So it got me thinking. I was like, okay, how can Shanks maintain this face and have these privileges that someone like a Doflamingo, a fallen angel, so to speak, doesn't get? He had to like blackmail his way through it. Shanks kind of gets like a little bit of a pass, where he has some sort of when he has has some sort of influence in Marineford, and he can get an audience with the government, with the Gorosei. He ducked the Holy Night coronation. Yeah, but okay. He ducked the Holy Night coronation, but he still has some sort of. I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on with Shanks. Like, cool, he snuck himself in, but I felt like what was going on is that, okay, Harold just took Shanks' place. I didn't think it was a thing where it's like, okay, because he left the Holy Night coronation, if he were to return, he could automatically get it. That is possible. Or they could just delay it for whatever reason. Or it could be a situation where Shanks regained favor from the Celestial Dragons by stopping Loki. But at the same time, because Shanks knows Loki's actual nature, he kind of has a better idea of who he is because he was present pretty much the entire battle. There might have been something they worked out between the two of them. Because the way that Gaban puts it and the other giants put it, it's like Shanks is the one that stopped Loki's rampage on the sea on behalf of the Elbaf giants. So that was just something I was thinking about in my head. Is there a way in which Loki and Shanks came to some sort of agreement that allowed Shanks to prevent Loki from carrying out his revenge tour and continuing to masquerade as like the villain of the whole Harold plot? That's just something I was just kind of thinking. I don't know how consistent that is in my head. I just need to. That's just something I was thinking about. Better way of putting it. But I don't think he got jumped. I think at this point I'm not convinced. I don't know. I'm not really sure about Loki getting jumped at this point. Kyle, I don't want Blackbeard as the final opponent either, but it doesn't really make a difference what the order is. If Emu's the final villain or Blackbeard's the final villain, there's still a bunch of Zoans that are going to be main opponents. I'm not really here for it, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not really here for it. But there were some I guess interesting things to talk about, or at the very least not new conversations but extended conversations that people have been had. So we'll kind of go through the chapter, kind of see, just tell you what I think about everything. No, just keep this out here. Cool. So if Harold left the castle in that state, he would have brought great calamity to the world. I had a taste of that hopeless future during the fight. No matter how badly we wounded him, his body kept repairing itself. It's shocking to think somebody actually stopped him. So Harold was like a walking wild calamity. I feel like despite Gaban and Shanks being advanced conquerors that can wound Harold, the power gap that Harold does separate himself from Shanks and Gaban after getting like Emu Zam is just so great that his body has his body was already tough enough to endure their attacks anyway, on top of having a level of regeneration that makes it even hard to wear down in the first place. Do I think this means that Harold is like, or Gaban is trying to say that Harold is the strongest in the world? It seems as though what makes Harold like a great calamity is because of the fact that he could keep regening, that he was already strong as it is, and he could just keep regening, and there's literally nothing they could have done about it, or at the very least the two of them. He said that there would have been, he would have been he would have brought a great calamity to the world. He probably would have like destroyed a lot of the world, but Harold going around destroying nation after nation after nation after nation because he's a mindless creature that can't be stopped by maybe like a very few, doesn't necessarily mean he's the strongest, if I'm being completely real. Otherwise, I think if that was Oda's intent, where he wanted to make Loki the strongest in the world, and Gaban has knowledge of people like Whitebeard in the world, because he was literally a Roger pirate, then he could have just used, like, Oda could have literally just used that terminology, or used Whitebeard as a point of comparison, or anybody from that generation for that matter. It's also the fact that Harold, yeah, I'll keep my thoughts like at that. I'll just expand on it a little bit later, not to drag it on too much. What's throwing me off is Whitebeard and Loki's existence on the sea. I feel like this will all make sense once we actually see Loki in action. Now, I'm well aware and understand like the implication of like Loki going into this battle NAF to begin with, and that could be a way in which like Oda uses it as a way to not make Luffy get overshadowed or Loki outshine Loki. Outshined by Loki, sorry. But I don't think that in of itself is enough to say that suggests that Loki would currently be the strongest or whatever. It could make him stronger than Luffy, and that's totally fine. It would also not work if Loki ends up getting Domi reversied, which I have a like, I kind of suspect that might happen. I actually do suspect that Loki probably will get Domi reversied. I have a little suspicion on that, only because I do think that there are going to be some parallels to the flashback that we just got, and Emu's involvement in both the past and the present day. I feel like there will be some sort of overlap. As for Whitebeard and Loki's existences on the sea, Loki literally says later on, was it after this? Yeah, he says, I'm heading out to see old timer. I'll take the surviving soldiers with me. So, this guy really planned on settling the score between the world government and Harold. With this ability, I'll settle the regrets of the old man and his soldiers. So he wanted to he wanted to run up on the world government. So if Loki is displaying his power on the sea, him and he rounded up however many people to help him out. And that amounted to a 2.6 billion berry bounty in about how many years? 8 years? Now obviously bounty's not the end all be all, but I think the difference between like a Harold and a Loki when they were both on the sea, like causing mayhem or whatever. And when I'm talking about Harold on the sea, I mean like when he was like a devoted blade of God. At that time, right? Well, actually, forget when he was devoted blade of God. When Harold was a holy knight, that level of power he didn't display to the world. No one knows that's going on apart from the people in Elbaf. Actually, not even just the people in Elbaf, the people that were in that castle only. Those are the only people that even know Harold's strength. So there wasn't really an opportunity for Harold to, with his newfound power, to kind of like establish himself in front of like other strong people in that time. But Loki, on the other hand, he had 8 years when he was on the sea. He had 8 years when he was on the sea, presumably trying to like take down government bases or whatever, trying to get to Marijoa. And through his power, he was awarded 2.6 billion berry bounty. So I feel like if the government has seen enough to give him a 2.6 billion berry bounty, then I'm not really sure if they even thought that like he was the strongest at the time. I don't really think he was supposed to be the strongest on the sea, if I'm being completely wrong. I'm not really convinced of it at all. If Base Harold is already a Rock's rival, Amped Harold still not stronger than Whitebeard. That's if you even consider Base Harold and Rocks on Prime Whitebeard's level, which at this point I'm starting to not believe in, if I'm being real. Even though I was quite gung-ho on it on the past, but I'm not really convinced of it as of late. Tell me, Cairo, what does this mean? Oh, they're not ready for Akainu. Oh, I don't know why Akainu's got to do anything up here. Yeah, Loki's bounty could be special like King's bounties. King has a has a special reward on it as well. Ancient giant tax maybe. I don't know. I don't know what makes it special. Special paramecia. It's quite a lot of things said to be special that aren't that special. I don't know. Maybe special bounties are like double regular bounties. Yeah, I'm assuming the volcano emojis are probably Akainu. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I never thought Garden was that strong out to begin with anyway, at least when he was in God Valley. To be honest, I don't really know how moved I am by the Gorosei current day in general. I don't even know how moved I am at this point. Because we could have just went through a whole arc where there was 5 Gorosei that couldn't capture a single nigga. Couldn't do anything. But those Gorosei, every time I think about the Gorosei in Egghead, I can't even believe Oda decided to do that. I don't even know why did he even think it was a good idea to have all 5 there. I don't understand. How can Akainu have fans? I mean, Akainu's cool. Yeah, he's cool. But yeah, I never really had a high opinion of God in God Valley. I don't think God in God Valley is like much different to, like, I don't know, current day Gonko or something. I don't think he's that different. Maybe a bit stronger because he was like was he a captain or commander or something like that? Maybe he's a little bit better than that. I don't think he was as strong as Shamrock is right now. I think I have a higher opinion on Shamrock. All roads lead to Mihawk. Yeah, you could say that. Depends what journey you're taking. What's this destination you're trying to get to by going down this road you're talking about? Akainu's top 5 right now, top 3 for me. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree as well. Loki thinking Harold was always Emu's strongest warrior he had. Well, yeah, nah, definitely. Yeah, I can't lie. Emu here did not make it seem as though he thought there could have been. He was very surprised that someone from Elbaf was able to take down a monster like Harold. And even when they suggested to inspect it, he didn't want to risk another one of his men getting eliminated. So, yeah, it definitely does seem as though Emu values Harold's strength more than anyone he's probably ever had, to be honest. So you have Shamrock as the strongest guy in the government besides Emu right now? No. But if he was, I wouldn't be surprised. The thing about Shamrock is that I never really had a high opinion of him to begin with. But I have a higher opinion of Shamrock than I do of like a God Valley Garland though. So I know that's a very low bar, but I think Shamrock probably is as strong as some of the Gorosei. If I had to rank him amongst the current five, he'd probably be top 3 or 4. I suspect Miss Joro and Mars will be Zoro and Sanji opponents at the end of the story. That's what I suspect. So Shamrock could be stronger than the two of them, or as strong as the two of them, or maybe slightly below, or somewhere in the middle. Like I think he's hovering around there. I don't think Jupiter is stronger than Shamrock, but yeah. Top 3: Emu, Dragon, Shanks, Mihawk. Top 5: we don't consider Kaido. I wasn't thinking about Emu, but I guess he wouldn't be top 3 if I'm thinking about Emu. Yeah, I kind of wouldn't be top 3 in that case. Is it clear now that Loki should be stronger than the old gen, like Roger, Whitebeard, Garb, Rox, and Harold? I think being stronger than like Harold and Rox is fair, but I'm becoming more confident in the idea that those two are just not as strong as Prime, Roger, Whitebeard, and Garb. Like, I'm becoming more confident in that position as the weeks go on. I also suspect that like, even though Oda has been making like the established like general hierarchy, it seems as though this flashback is counteracting pre-established levels, kind of, so to speak. I feel like he will probably like go back on it anyway. Because the way that Roger was always portrayed in front of at least the current crop, he's definitely portrayed to be stronger than them. Unless Loki is genuinely just an abnormality and he's genuinely like just top 1 right now, and the current gen niggas are playing catch up, and he's already been past like people like Shanks, Mihawk, or whatever. And what Shanks done 6 years ago means fuck all to what Loki could do now. Unless it's a situation like that where Loki's already at his end of series strength, I feel like Oda probably would just write himself into it. Okay. The way I'm treating this conversation, I'm treating this conversation on a week by week thing. Okay. I feel like that the Emu fight will give us more of an understanding of where Emu should rank. Where Loki should rank amongst people One Piece history. But at the same time, I feel like you have to look at it from this perspective that Oda he's not writing a battle shonen manga for power scalers. It's a battle shonen manga that he's telling a story that we power scale. It's two different things. So power scaling is important in the sense that for your combat-based series to make sense, or to feel, for people to believe in the story, there are certain things that have to be maintained for the lore to be something that's digestible, that makes it feel consistent, so that the verse actually feels real. If it was a thing where, okay, one chapter could be one thing and 5 chapters later it could be something completely different, it wouldn't really make any sense. We're not watching Detective Conan, where you have one episodic bullshit happen this time, and then 30 episodes later, something happened that disregarded everything that happened the last 50 episodes happens. That's not really what's going on. So the way I treat power cliffs or whatever people want to call it. I only treat those things as like a last resort. If it is the case, then fair enough. But I'm not gonna assume that's Oda's intent. The moment it happens, because of X, Y, Z reason. I feel like there's like a level of dishonesty when people do that, in my opinion at least. And I wanna preface all this by saying, or at least try to clarify this position by saying, I feel like there's two ways you can look at it. There's what you can argue versus what you narratively think Oda's intent is. I think those are two different things. Because would I sit here and say that you can't argue Loki being the strongest outside of Emu right now? Actually, fuck it, even stronger than Emu right now. I'm not going to sit and say that you can't argue it. Do I think that that's what Oda's probably going for? I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Do I really think that Oda is going for Loki being stronger than someone like a Roger, who is presented as a future benchmark of strength for Luffy to surpass? And in this current arc, he has and actually, funny enough, I read the beginning of Elbaf again, literally earlier today. I was rereading the beginning of it. And are we really supposed to think that someone like Luffy, who Gaban trusted to deal with Loki, if worse came to worse, and had that whole moment with the key, means that if it really did come to it between Loki and Luffy, Loki would just be far and away stronger, and he's actually beyond one of the benchmarks that Luffy is yet to surpass. Especially considering if Loki ends up joining Luffy's crew, if he actually ends up joining the crew. You see what I mean? Like, if it is the case, then fair enough. But I think what you can argue versus what actually is the case and what's most likely is the case is probably two different things. I was a bit long-winded, but hopefully gets the point across. Domi Rocks or Holy Knight Harold? I would take Domi Rocks. Got a theory about the Covenant losing itself to Emu will displace your own. Likely why Conquest Haki is the only type that's effective. I mean, I can understand. Well, actually, mechanically, I don't really understand why that would work. To be honest, I don't understand how that would work, but maybe from like a symbolism or like from a narrative standpoint, I can understand. Yeah, like Conquest Haki being a way in which you can overwhelm the will imposed to others from Emu. That makes sense. I can understand why I already made that counter in the first place. If the Covenant is imposing Emu's will on certain people, and Conquest Haki is the power that overwhelms others with your own willpower, then yeah, I can understand why that would be like a natural narrative counter. But mechanically, I don't. It's whatever. To be honest, it is what it is. I guess I answered my own question mechanically. It's just overwhelming their will, I guess. So you have Roger, Garp, and Whitebeard on Domi Rocks' level. Yeah, in that case, yeah. That's what Sengoku was talking about, and he was saying perhaps or maybe is the strongest enemy. Then yeah, I guess they would be on the same level. Or maybe Rocks is like a tier up, maybe, I don't know. But I'd say at least on that level. Mihawk Shanks a Kainu Dragon Emu slash Teach. Emu ain't him combat wise, you'll see. I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't know. If the final villain really is just some regen merchant, that would be very disappointing, I'll be honest. I'm beyond his age. I think since Wano Roger is no longer the standard for what Luffy needs to surpass now. It's funny you say that because at the end of the Luffy Kaido fight, Kaido talks about Haki transcending all, and Roger's used as the example of that. Of an example of someone that conquered the world and had Haki that can transcend all. I don't know. I don't see that. I feel like even though Wano was the arc that introduced Joy Boy and introduced all these ancient things, I don't think Roger is this discarded benchmark. Like he's just not as far along into the end of the story as maybe people once thought, but he's still clearly like a narrative benchmark. It's like, for example, it's like me saying Odin is clearly a narrative benchmark for Zoro to surpass. He's not as far down the line as someone like a Ryuma or a Mihawk, but he's somewhere down the line. Like we're not gonna. I feel like it's being lost on people that the story that we're reading is heavily influenced by Roger. You know what I mean? And Roger's accomplishments and what he stood for and what his level of power represented. Even though it's kind of fraudulent, but hey, that is still the narrative. That's how it's portrayed. My thing is Luffy should surpass Joy Boy since Wano, so Roger kind of feels out of place now in the story. Yeah, I think I kind of answered that before, but I don't really agree. As long as Luffy keeps saying I want to be Pirate King, Roger's not irrelevant. I don't think he's irrelevant. Loki's too strong to join the crew. Not even Zoro can catch up just by this arc. Yeah, fair enough. I think even if Loki doesn't join the crew, something I remembered is Loki actually made a promise with Luffy that if he frees him, he will take out a pirate rival of his choosing. Now, Luffy probably won't take that offer anyway, but it still kind of shows that there will be a level of future assistance from Loki that, you know, maybe in the near future, outside of just the battle with Emu. I hope it's not just the battle with Emu. Hopefully it's something else as well. But yeah, like Luffy and Loki came to some agreement. He's gonna tell him about Shanks as well, probably. Also, people keep saying, and this is another thing that I said this earlier, but another thing that doesn't make me convinced on the whole Loki getting jumped by the red-haired pirates, and like it's the coward thing. So Loki calls him a coward, but he said he was joking. I don't think he was being serious about. I don't think he was being actually genuine when he said Shanks is a coward. I think he was genuinely just trying to rile up Luffy now. That's how I read it now. I think it was genuinely just a joke. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I'm being Luffy. I don't know. I don't think Loki genuinely meant what he said by Shanks being a coward. Maybe he meant it. If he did actually mean what he said, it could be the fact that Shanks doesn't want to target the world government the same way Loki does. Maybe that's why he's calling him a coward, and not about how Loki was taken down. Loki breaks power scaling. I think for now you can say that, but I don't know if that'll pan out to be true, if I'm being honest. What's up, unknown, bro? Yeah, you missed quite a bit, I'll be honest. You missed quite a bit. I have only been streaming for like 50 minutes. I'll probably stream for another hour. Disappear, go read my manhwa, you know? Bro, I've been on a manhwa binge lately. Can't lie, I've been loving it. Outside, out of mind. That's what I've been lately, I'll be real. We need Loki Blackbeard. I used to entertain that, but I don't think so anymore. I think it's very obvious Loki's gonna be a Luffy ally. Let's not forget that Big Mom believed that she'd clap the Yonko and the world government if Loki's marriage went ahead. Shanks versus Loki is no different to this. To his clash with Kaido. No details. It may not have been a fight. Yeah, I think what we're starting to learn in this arc is everything that's being said is probably not the full truth. So even if Loki got captured by Shanks in the end, how he got captured is probably not what we're all assuming, where Shanks just overwhelmed Loki. Because that's kind of what I thought at first. It's like, okay, if Shanks actually beat someone, I feel like if Shanks is beating someone in the story, it's probably going to be like an overwhelming victory. I think Shanks has at least got that grace from me at this point, because I thought the same would happen to Kid before we saw it. I thought, you know, maybe Shanks would like hold back a bit for Oda to kind of like gas up Kid, but then at the end of the day it would be like a one shot. But it being a complete annihilation, literally as the narrator said it, you know, Kid got destroyed. I think Shanks has got that grace from me at this point, where it's like, if he beats someone, my first assumption is probably, unless it's someone like established as a top tier, not like a new character, I wouldn't jump the gun and I wouldn't really assume that it was something odd going on. I think with Kaido, like, yeah, they had a skirmish, but it was never really, even with Shanks's interaction with Kaido, it was never presented as Shanks beat Kaido anyway. Because Kaido even says that there's no one in the world that could beat him. So if you had a fight with Shanks, it clearly was unresolved. Maybe they had a clash or two, but clearly it wasn't much of a fight, you know. But Big Mom believing that she would clap the Yonko if she had Loki on her side and the Giants on her side, probably is true at this point anyway. The Giants are clearly a very strong force. If she had the giant pirates and the warriors of Elbaf, it probably would have tipped the scale in her favor anyway. So I think that part probably is still true anyway. Do I really think that the Whitebeard Pirates will still have their position as like the strongest on the sea, and you know, with Loki on Big Mom's side? I doubt it. I doubt it. It's also weird to me that Emu... So let me read this actually. Cool, he was a rare Asian giant, enhanced with even more power and an undying body. Those traits made him a true monster, and yet he was still killed. Who could have? Is something unforeseen lurking on Elbaf? They suggest that you have the Abyss pentagram carved by Harold inspected. That should not be necessary. It would only result in the death of another knight. Every covenant comes at a price to be paid, even for Mu. He had no qualms about lowering his head to appease humans. All he sought was communion with other nations and people. Harold was a total aberration. And yet he was born with the blood of those savage battle-loving giants. And he admitted, and had we admitted him into the government, Flippantly, his very presence might have destroyed it from within. So Harold alone was a force that, had he just had free reign with his newfound power, it would have caused an internal destruction within the world government. That's what Emu is fearing. Elba should have never have known a king of his disposition. Forging a covenant with a cooperative ancient giant like him was an unprecedented opportunity. This disappointing outcome proves that history does not lie. We were always going to be incompatible. Never forget Elbaf is the D. He says this, but then he goes back on it. Emu says this, but then he ultimately goes back on it. It actually might be the fact that they learned that Loki was the one that beat Harold. They were wary of Loki and the power he would hold if they sent someone in. So the Celestial Dragons and Emu were only comfortable with having another attempt at taking Elbaf once they learned that Loki was taken care of. Time to accept I'm beyond the Pirate King level's age. You're still calling yourself Loki the Sun God. You're not the Sun God, mate. Sorry. So if the Celestial Dragons only made their move on Elbaf again because they learned that Loki was the one, I can't lie, if that's true, if that's even the case, I don't even know why Shamrock felt like he can say what he said. That's crazy. That guy Shamrock is making it seem, bro. If you got them chains, come find me and try fight me, bro. I'll be ready for you. That guy Shamrock is either the biggest demon on the planet or he's the biggest idiot known to man. Literally no in between. Literally no in between. This guy Shamrock is making it seem like, yup, if we run the fade right now, whether you're chained or not chained, nerfed or not nerfed, I can give you a sense of being right now, you'll be looking like Moro. That's the energy that Shamrock was giving out. End of Elbaf Luffy will be stronger than Roger at this point. I doubt it. I don't think so. Unless the next arc really is Laugh-Tale, then maybe. But I don't think we have that little of the story left, if I'm being honest. Holy Land on fire, Vegapunk drops the files. That man said, let's just hurry and try it again. Yeah, it could just be out of desperation. It might not be some calculated thing. Maybe I'm giving Emu too much grace and I'm saying it's calculated because Loki got dealt with, but that might not even be the case. Shamrock Warrior off screen by Mihawk. Also no God Knights have Conquer's Haki confirmed by Gaban. Yeah, at least the ones that pulled up. I can't lie, Garland low-key dodged the bullet. he dodged the bullet, because it seems like he wasn't one of the ones that was going after his son. So maybe there's still a chance for him, but especially because he is a Gorosei as well. But I'm starting to think the Gorosei might just be gifted Conqueror's Haki from Emu. They might not even be natural born conquerors. They actually might not be. I also don't like the implication of this chapter, because the implication of Emu being defeated as a result of his subordinates being defeated, injuring him or nerfing him or hampering him in some way. Because Emu is saying that the death of another knight would come at a price even for himself. And then he's been huffing and puffing this entire section. Like, he clearly felt some fatigue, from mental fatigue or whatever, from Harold getting killed. He was also overwhelmed by Joy Boy's haki. It seems like he was probably... It could have been that the Conqueror's haki that the Gorosei felt from Joy Boy also permeated to Emu as well. Or it could just genuinely be a thing where he was just genuinely in fear and he was huffing and puffing as a result. Or both, even. Or both, but I don't really like the implication that Emu might be taken down in the end as a result of him being weakened and hampered as his vassals get taken out. I don't really like that implication. It might not be the case, but it's definitely possible at this point. Fraud rock birth from his dad. Yeah, that trash talk that Shamrock was given, yeah, can't lie. It might have been from Garland Loki. Shamrock is probably Zoro level. I don't know. I think if he was Zoro level, that's kind of low at this point. That's kind of low. At that point, I wouldn't put him. If Shamrock was Zoro level, I wouldn't put him in Gorosei conversation. So I'm being honest, probably wouldn't. That man claimed that Gunka would whip him even without the chains. He's delusional. Did he say that? I don't know. I literally read it earlier today. I don't recall it. I don't recall him saying that Gunka could have done it. I think he was talking about himself. Emu's power is a combo of Big Moms and Morias. I've seen the parallels. The Moria one is interesting because Thriller Bark is literally an island in the One Piece Bermuda Triangle, Florian Triangle. It's a nightmare realm that's been cast by darkness. That has a guy that's been running that island, taking people's shadows. Shadows being essentially a component of their souls, or could be a counterpart to to a person's soul, uses those souls to amp himself up with Shadow Asgard. Similar to, I guess, Emu and his covenants, kind of. And then they were trying to beat Emu before dawn broke. There are kind of a lot of parallels, but there's parallels littered through quite a few arcs, to be fair, when it comes to Emu and the whole bringing a new dawn thing, or like having a tyrannical leader that's been robbing freedom of people. Like Oda's done that quite a lot of times at this point, quite a lot. Let me check that. I don't recall, but let me check if Shamrock said that about Gunko. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I told you already I can't move. It doesn't change our question. A member of the common rabble receiving a chance to join the rank of gods is a miracle one can only dream of. And we're offering you that miracle now. Not again. So if it's gonna accelerate to kick my right cheek, and after I've turned out of the way, you're gonna give me an uppercut with the fist of yours. Thanks for the heads up. Those arrows are the confirmed path of my very future. A declaration of unavoidable violence. But it's possible for me to change course. So asking again, Loki, will you join the Holy Knights? Hell no. I regret this. Not really join. Yeah, Kyle, I think you're wasting my time. Oh, that doesn't change our question. That's the... Was that the pot? Was it that? Oh, why did I do that? Oh, here we go. This is only because I can't move from this spot. The result would have been the same even if you could. Oh, okay. I think with context, I can see why they went with both options, to be fair. Do you finally understand? Is it sinking in yet? So they talk about the offer they're making. So Viz is going off the assumption that it's referring to the question that was asked in the previous chapter, whereas TCB took it as it being about Loki's current situation. I don't know. I think TCB and Viz just had like two different ways of interpreting the context of what Shamrock was referring to. I don't know. Oh well, it's not really that big of a deal anyway. Maybe Shamrock is talking about I don't know, Gunko and Shamrock both jumping him. They would have beat him up. No, I still don't even know if they can do that. I doubt it, to be honest. Actually, I don't doubt it. I know they can't do it. I know they can't do it. The Gorosei himself have worse feet than Zoro. As a collective, I don't really agree, but Zoro literally went up against Nesjoro. Seemed like Nesjoro was comfortable enough dealing with Zoro. At the very least, what they can deal with each other. It's not like either one really went all out, but every time Zoro got rated under some next man you violated, so yo, keep tripping, you gonna see. I don't know what you're talking about, Prince. I don't know what combo you're thinking Zoro's being underrated from being in. I'll be honest, I don't know what you're talking about. Zage, do you think that the Gunko is an exception and the only Holy Knights with the Gorosei level mark that also stop aging because she is Emu's personal attendant? Is she? I've seen people say that, but I don't know. If Gunko having an abyssal covenant is kind of crazy. I doubt it, to be honest. Kind of doubt it. I don't think Emu gives a fuck about having personal attendant having more liberties to that degree. I don't know if he cares about that. Blabbit has to succeed where Rocks failed, in my opinion. The world government is more Roger's goal, even if Blabbit doesn't defeat Mu on his own. Oh, you meant Dragon, sorry. The world government is more Dragon's goal, even if Blabbit doesn't defeat Mu on his own. How would I explain Gunko not aging? Did she really not age? Am I just blind? No. Let me. Does she look the exact same? I don't know, maybe she's a bit taller. To be honest, I never noticed that Gunko age. I don't know. I just thought she was older. I'll be honest. I didn't really look into it like that to notice there was not much of a difference. I read Shamrock being on Zoro level, but let's be real, Zoro control or deletes anything Luffy beat in the previous arc. I don't know if that's the case anymore. It's definitely not the case anymore. I don't know if he control or deletes Kizaru and Kaido. I don't think he does that. Whew. If Gunka has the Abyssal Seal, she might have one of those Gorosei type transformations if that comes from Emu. But she's already got a Delphi anyway. I think, I'll be honest, I think the transformations are the Delphi powers. Even if it's from Emu, it's probably just a Delphi power he can extend to them. Like, even if it comes from his magic book or whatever, his grimoire, I think it's just an ability of his own devil fruit that he can extend to them, even if they aren't users of specific devil fruits. I think they are just devil fruit, and Gunka's already got devil fruit, so I don't know. Let me go through this chapter top to bottom. Did you know the sacred treasure would be that powerful? No, I actually knew nothing about it. All I know is I get chills down my spine when I imagine what would have happened if Loki hadn't been here today. And Loki's clearly stronger than Shanks and Gabon. That's pretty clear. When I join the Gods Knights, it'll be a new dawn for Elbaf. If you have any wish, simply name it and it will be within your reach. You've truly endured a miserable, squalid life until now, my poor child. Forget your former existence, for a former life, on the surface. The commoners down there don't even count as people. Hey Shanks, stop it. That's a bad habit. You should never resent the circumstances of your birth. Why did Harold have to die? He was such a pure soul. If I had been faster, this isn't your fault. Listen, Shanks, you are here for a reason. Everyone's life has meaning to it. You just gotta hold on. This guy Shanks is learning lessons at this point that Robin was in Enies Lobby. Crazy. This is what, you know, Shanks feeling this way, like, it's obviously not surprising, but I want to know how he can still do dealings with the government. That's what I want to know. I think it has something to do with Loki and how he captured him. I'll be real. I have like a suspicion. This is what happens when you love your country too much. I can't lie, this panel here was the biggest damn. This panel here was good. So this is what happens when you love your country too much. This sucks. Can't lie, Elbaf also being D just goes to show anyone can be a D. Like, I always had the opinion that the D were literally just friends of Joy Boy, similar to the X Mark in Alabasta. It was just allies of Joy Boy at the time and their descendants. This guy, Joy Boy, had allies from all sorts of races and places from the world. Elbaf is of the D. Seems like the previous use of Ragnar and that fruit was probably one of Joy Boy's allies. It's kind of nuts to think about. Joy Boy had a subordinate with those powers. Loki, after this, the country will be in disarray. I'm heading out to see Old Timer. I'll take the surviving soldiers with me. What about Harold's final request? Tell the people of Elbaf what happened here. There's no way I can tell them the truth, or just drop here, all of you. Don't speak a word of what happened here today. So you know what I was thinking? I was thinking, why did Gaban make it seem as though he didn't get the full picture, when Oda could have literally just said it was a kept secret? Because clearly he has the context. He knows Loki didn't kill his dad over some malicious reason. I don't understand why it had to be framed as though people didn't get the full context. Especially in the moment in which you're going to tell the context. You're going to tell what actually happened. Maybe Shanks and his crews teamed up with Elbaf Giants to stop Loki from getting killed by attacking the world government. Yeah, but it seemed, every time they spoke about Shanks capturing, beating Loki, it seemed as though they were saying it as if like Shanks did it on their behalf. I don't think they had involvement in it. Because the strongest giants outside of like Loki would literally be like Dory and Ruggy. So I don't think and they were like scrapping on Little Garden during that time. So I don't know. Garland is a good father, if not one of the best. That's a crazy take, but it's not really that crazy when it's coming from a guy named Sakazuki on his YouTube account. So, hey, you're playing into character very, very well. Playing into character very, very well, man. Was it stated that Elbaf Giant stopped Loki as well? I don't know. I don't recall. I don't recall. Maybe you're right. I've seen people bring up how this paralleled the Usopp in Syrup Village was pretty cool. But when I was rereading the beginning of Elbaf, I can't lie, Elbaf does not feel like it's going to be that long of an arc. It doesn't actually feel like it, because the the beginning portion of the arc where everyone's getting to understand the island and the people and whatever, into like the main action or like the main conflict, but that shit felt so quick. It felt so quick. Like I read up until literally around like 11:37. That's literally where I stopped reading up until. I didn't finish the entire part, but I was only planning on reading up until like the beginning of the flashback, and then I was gonna call it a day. But the pacing is so fast. Feels really fast. Well, relative to prior arcs. In general is actually okay, but relative to prior arcs, it is pretty quick. But yeah, I want to see where this goes when it comes to Usopp. Maybe I'm asking for too much. If we say nothing, who do you think they'll blame for this? It'll be the same as always. Say I were to become king, can you see me actually honoring father's ideals? I can only tackle this in my own way. With this ability, I'll settle the regrets of the old man and his soldiers. Don't be stupid, Loki. The government is a big organization. It won't be as easy as you think. Loki said, after that, I went out to sea. Irodin, by the time that you guys returned to the island, everyone had already dubbed me the Loki, the patricide. And I made no effort to correct that narrative. But it's not like I was crazy enough to brag about killing him either. I just didn't want I want everything he stood for to be dismissed because of how things turned out. With all that in mind, do you really think I should have told the people everything? Why was Whitebeard and Kaido called the world's strongest when Loki exists? I mean, that's assuming Loki's even stronger than either of them. I don't know. I think I've always made my take on the world's strongest creature quite clear. I don't think it's about him being like the strongest fighter in the world. I just think it's about him being very, very difficult to kill. He just has like an abnormal body that you have to like damage through unconventional means. And he stated to have unparalleled vitality. He just has a very strong power of living. It's hard to kill him. But I don't think his actual combat ability is what's being said to be the strongest. The only reason why people bet on him in a one-on-one is because why wouldn't you bet on the guy that seemingly can't die? That's kind of the point of that entire chapter. That no one could kill him, not even himself. And that's his whole reputation. When it comes to Whitebeard, with Whitebeard, it's actually a little bit more than just his combat strength. Whitebeard represented a wall in front of the great age of the whole great pirate era. He was a wall in the sense that he was the closest to One Piece. The rivals like Kaido, Big Mom, kind of Shanks, but not really. Anyone that was trying to take some sort of level of supremacy on the sea, in order to take Roger's spot, you had to get through Whitebeard. And up until Whitebeard's death, he maintained his position as the greatest pirate on the sea. He had the strongest crew. So it's a bit grander. His position or his narrative of being the strongest, his lore of being the strongest, is a bit more than just his ability to be able to beat everyone. is also off the back of his rivalry with Roger as well. So he's said to be Roger's greatest rival a couple of times. We literally see Whitebeard and Roger fight, and the way that Roger is portrayed in comparison to the current crop in the Great Pirate Era and the New Age right now, Roger's like a benchmark that people are trying to fight for. They're fighting for the position that he once kept. That's why what Kaido says about how Delver abilities alone aren't enough to conquer the world, and that Roger was able to do it without a fruit, and Haki transcends all. It portrays someone like a Roger being above like an average emperor. When Chincha was saying that like to Luffy that if he wants to become Pirate King, he has to trounce the Yonkos and the Admirals, whatever. That's Roger's level of strength being represented as something like above those crop of pirates. Now there could be the odd exception or two, just depending on how things shape up at the end of the story or whatever, but generally speaking, that's why Whitebeard has that position. Loki is a bit weird. Like Loki, I feel like Loki's claim of being the strongest is not, I don't even think it's not even a lore thing. I'll just say it's more implication based, I'd say. It's more like, okay, here's a scaling chain, therefore Loki's the strongest. I don't really think it's like a narrative being pushed by Oda. I don't think he's trying to push the idea that Loki was the strongest at any point. Genuinely. Maybe you could say that after this chapter, in the sense that, like, you know, the way Harold's perceived, it depends on your interpretation of like what you think about Gaban calling like Harold like a wild calamity, or has the ability to cause like a great calamity on the world. But at the same time, like Whitebeard literally had an ability that was feared to be able to destroy the world. So but there's also the tendency from most people that like whatever is more recent is probably what Oda's current intent is. So even if that was the case for someone like a Whitebeard in the past, maybe it's not with newer information. But I don't really agree with that, unless, like I said quite early on in the stream, like that's genuinely like one of the last case scenarios where it's like, okay, cool, throw all this old lore in the past and just continue from here. But I don't know if we're there yet, if I'm being honest. To say definitively, at least. If you want to argue it, by all means, I won't fight it, but it's not something I personally agree with. Loki's Odin Thor, a frost giant, Loki and a Heimdall rolled into one character, kind of dope. He kind of has everything, yeah. He kind of has all the powers of Norse mythology. Yo, at least has quite a lot of them. Like, kind of the main ones. Luffy was mad excited to see Loki fight. You have this skull creature running rampant, and then Loki shows off Ragnar. You know, I saw on the timeline people were trolling people were trolling using this panel of Loki saying, "All right, let's show him your power, Ragnar," and comparing it to like Zoro saying that about Enma. It's kind of funny. I think what makes it kind of funny as well is that Ragnar is literally has its own power in the sense that it not only grants like these abilities, like elemental abilities, whether it be ice, lightning, or whatever. It literally has a Zoan power as well, and it's like literally strong by itself. It's strong by itself, whereas Enma, it's just a sword. If it lays idle, it doesn't really do anything unless you hold it. And it doesn't really grant any extra power outside of the haki it draws from the user. But people are trying to place attacks on Zoro for Enma. That energy clearly isn't kept for Loki, but I don't think it. Like I said, like I actually don't really care what people say about Zoro and Enma. To be honest, like whatever they want to say about Enma and how much it aids Zoro. Hey, it's Zoro's weapon now, man. Whatever ability you think it is granting Zoro, that's Zoro's power now. So I don't really think it really makes a difference. But I found that comparison kind of funny though. I found it kind of funny. Oh man, them saying that Harold or Loki could bring ruin to the world kind of does seem like the implication is there, but who knows? Yeah, but if old Whitebeard still has the law that he can destroy the world or whatever with his fruit power and everything, then what's the difference? Harold is a world calamity because he's a very strong guy that can keep regenerating, that seemingly can't be killed. That's literally what Gaban surmised. After his experience fighting Harold, he felt like he could cause a calamity on the world or destroy the world because he's just a very strong guy that can't be killed. Whitebeard is a very strong guy with a fruit that if he went crazy with, can level islands over time. Destroy the whole world. If anything, Whitebeard's claim of being able to destroy the world is more power based than Harold. Harold's thing is like, oh, you can't kill him. You could damage him, but he's very hard to kill. Not that he's completely unkillable, but he's very hard to kill. Whitebeard might be killable, but his level of destruction is just a lot crazier. If you give Kaido's weapon a devil fruit power or devil fruit, how much stronger would it make him? Depends on the fruit, but it would be quite a bit. Yeah, it would be quite a bit, to be honest. Should be quite a lot. Do they be taxing Loki for his devil fruit? I don't know. What are you talking about, Kyle? Question: if Zoro masters his Conqueror's Haki like Luffy, does he pass Yonko? No, not necessarily. Luffy mastered his Conqueror's Haki when he came back and split the sky. He didn't pass the Yonko. So Yamato mastered Conqueror's Haki, didn't surpass the Yonko. So, yeah, those are just a couple of examples, I guess. Do you think Sanji will get advanced conquerors? He probably will because of his parallel to Gaban. I think if Gaban's parallel to Sanji wasn't as overt as it was, I think you can maybe have a little bit of skepticism towards it, but I think at this point, I think it's pretty much guaranteed. It's not even a matter of if at this point, it's a matter of when, whether it's this arc or another arc. But if Sanji doesn't get it in this arc, I don't know what exactly he's doing against the Holy Knights or Dory and Broggy or like Domi Reversi Giants or anything. So you're referring to this, Kyle? If Haru left the castle in that state, he would have brought great calamity to the world. I had a taste of that hopeless future during that fight. No matter how badly we wounded him, his body kept repairing itself. It's shocking to think somebody actually stopped him. Joro says that he didn't know about the sacred treasure, but he gets chills down his spine when he imagines what could have happened if Loki had been there. He didn't say that Loki... they're talking about Harold. So, Harold... the state that Harold was in... would have been so crazy, because not only is he extremely powerful... Oh, is there another chapter? Okay. But at least for Harold... I'll go to another chapter, but... at least for Harold's case, he's a strong guy that he's very, very, very hard to put down. He's like a Kaido on steroids, basically. He's Kaido on steroids. I think you're talking about when Rox went to Loki. I actually know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Let me see if it's this chapter. No. Actually, wait, maybe? No. Was it when Loki found out that Rox died? Whenever that was. Let me see. It was here. I think you're Nika Rox. Nika, the warrior of liberation. He laughs as he tears down the world. He tears it down. Well, I'm gonna be the king of the world. If anyone's got that kind of power, it's Harold. Listen to this, Loki. Slumbering somewhere out there in the world is a bunch of incredible destroyers by the name of Galila. And the guy that can actually control them is your old man. I could have all the outlaws in the world under my command. If me and Harold team up, who could possibly stop us? I think Rox here is just talking about the Galila guys. Like, Harold has the power to command the Galila guys, and they're like incredible destroyers. Maybe like continent pullers or whatever. Like people like Oars or some shit. Like Oars the First or some shit. Like people of that ilk. And yeah, maybe that's who he was referring to. I don't know. It's before Harold threw his sword at Joro. Let me see. Oh, when they talk about Loki's. Okay. Feed the treasure of Elbaf to Loki. With the power of God, I'll be unstoppable. Elbaf, being enslaved by the government, is the very antithesis of my dream. Da, 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 da. Hey, this better be a TCB thing, man. This is a TCB thing. Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to, bro. It's before Harold threw his sword at Jarul and before Shanks and Gaban entered the room. So it's gotta be the next chapter. This is just about Ragnar. And then this is Shanks and Gaban. Oh. So it was the previous chapter then. Oh, you're sending me on a joyride, bro. Like, what the fuck? When does Jarul even stab him? Okay, they enter the room. Oh, okay, you can't eat Harold, it'll be the end of the world. Oh, okay, there we go. If you eat that fruit, it'll be the end of the world, Harold. Okay, there we go. I see. I think when Jarul's saying that, it's just like, if Harold gets any stronger than he already is with his ability to just to keep regenerating, then yeah, it will be the end of the world. Like, it would just be, he would just go on a complete rampage. No one would be able to stop him. He's even stronger than he already is. It's similar to what Gaban was saying. I don't know. I think what Gaban and Jarul are alluding to is the same thing. Difference is Zoro has the physical strength currently, unlike Yamato post time skip Luffy. Isn't Conqueror's Haki the only world class skill he is lacking? I mean, he has Conqueror's Haki though, he doesn't have complete control over it or whatever. Or not, I don't even know what Gaban meant. But what Gaban is referring to is that like because he's not aware of his Conqueror's Haki, it's like an indictment on his usage of it. So if he's more aware of what he's doing, then he would be able to use it better. So it's not as if like Zoro is lacking Conqueror's Haki or anything. He already has advanced Conqueror's Haki. It's just if he has better understanding of it, he would show better results. It's similar to like how on the rooftop, like Zoro does Ashura and Ashura was like coated in concrete haki, and he was able to scar Kaido, but because of his understanding of Enma getting better, the new technique he came up with at the end of the fight, Dragon Damnation, became a greater skill. It became a greater skill than that Ashura from the rooftop. That's kind of how I see it. Like, just having like a more of an understanding of your power could lead to like better results. That chapter when he used the ice power, people say Loki surpassed people, make this what? Hold on. That chapter when he used the ice power, people say, do Loki surpass people, make this, he wins this gauntlet with Rocks and Whitebeard. In my opinion, Whitebeard defeats Loki. I have proof. Anyone can argue with me. Well, I ain't gonna argue with you, bro. I'm definitely not gonna argue with you, bro. No, I'm definitely not gonna be Team Loki over Whitebeard. Definitely ain't doing that. Does Domi Reversi really give regen too? That's what Emu said. Emu said that he grants an undying body and uncanny strength. That's what he said, but it's kind of weird because the undying body part clearly wasn't like a massive hurdle that was presented in the fight with Roger and Garp, but that is what Emu said. What chapter was it? So the way that Domi Reversi works is Luffy exchanges some of their lifespan for an undying body and uncanny strength. So yeah, they gain immortality and they get stronger. It's literally the same. It's the same benefits of like what the Depths Covenant would do, but it's just different requirements. That's it. It's just a different way of achieving those traits. So instead of Emu placing a direct covenant that ties him to his subject to give them undying body and greater strength, he exchanges their lifespan for those benefits. Undying body, undying mean can't die, not regen. Nope. I actually checked what exactly Emu said, and what Emu said here when he says undying body is the same thing that Gaban says later on when he's talking about the regen of the Holy Knights. It's the same phrase. It's just translated like here Gaban says immortal, but that's literally what Emu says. It's the same word. He says the same thing. So I mean, even if you don't believe it now, or you're not really sure of it, we'll see Dory and Broggy. Like, if Dory and Broggy are getting hit by attacks and they're regening from it, then there you have it. I just think that with Rocks, what made him so difficult to defeat is not only because he has an undying body, but he had such a tough guard to begin with. His defense with his Conquest Haki was so tough to begin with that you had to get through his defense to even attempt at trying to wear down his body in the first place. Whereas with Harold is kind of well, not easy, but it was a lot of people are able to damage him. Even like those giants that were in the throne room, they could damage Harold's body. His body can be harmed. It can be harmed by Jarul. It can be harmed by Loki. It can be harmed by Shanks. It can be harmed by Gaban. But what made him so difficult to take down is because his regen coupled with his physical tough body in the first place makes it so that it's very hard to wear him out anyway. That same method that Gabon employed against the Holy Knights when they were attacking the Roger Pirates to get back Shanks doesn't really work against someone like a Harold, or at the very least it would take a lot more to try to take down someone like Harold with that approach. You would actually have to like beat him down with such overwhelming force to take down someone like a Harold, which they didn't have. Only Loki had that sort of overwhelming force. So with Rox, it's not just that he has his undying body, he has this crazy defense of Haki that he's coated himself in that makes his body even hard to damage in the first place. That's why I do think Domirasi Rox is stronger than Harold. Like that element of his defense just being a lot greater than someone like Harold's. He's just that amp. Even if you want to say that Harold and Rox like base to base are the same, in that case that the Domirasi is just a greater amp. It's just a greater amp that just has a short-term benefit, whereas the Depths Covenant is not as great of an amp, but obviously it doesn't have like, it is not constrained to your lifespan, so it won't give out. It won't give out until Emu returns back his power. So in the long term, you probably would rather have the Depths Covenant for a greater power, but in the short term, that short period of time, in terms of peaks, Domirasi will definitely get you a higher peak. I wanted to see Akainu and Dragon fight, but those two East and West desks will not. Oh man. But I don't think Dragon and Akainu are ever gonna fight like that. Maybe they'll have a little confrontation, but I don't think Akainu and Dragon are fighting. I don't think that's their matchups. The way I'm understanding Harold and Loki is that their Conqueror's Haki is unmatched, not their physical power. Plenty of people could fight them, but not dominate them due to disposition. I don't know, I think at the end of the day, your Conqueror's Haki is going to be a reflection of the power you hold anyway, so. If Loki joins Luffy's crew, will Blackbeard stand a chance? Unless Blackbeard got someone that strong, someone strong that we don't know, or gets a new power. I don't know. That is a good point, to be fair. It would seem as though the Straw Hat it's kind of lopsided, at least at the top end of each of their crews. It would seem that way. I guess Loki doesn't have to be a Straw Hat. He could just be like a very close ally to Luffy. That's all it really is. Or if Aokiji remains a Blackbeard pirate, then maybe he fights Loki. Who knows? Is it crazy that Kaido thinks that Jack is strong, but Greenbull thinks that King and Queen is weak? I think it's just all relative speak. It's just relatively speaking. Greenbull was saying that someone of his position can't let someone like a king and a queen beat him. He's not necessarily calling them weak. He's just saying compared to me, compared to an admiral, he's weak. And also it's Kaido and Jack, like it's part of his crew. You could maybe say there's a little bit of bias there, maybe on Kaido's end. Like he's not he's not discrediting Jack's strength when he lost to both Inu and Neku. He's just commenting on how strong they are in their Sulong forms. This is all relatively speaking. Makes way more sense that Loki and Teach to team up considering their parallels. They could have similarities and just not have the same and have like an aligned ambition. Like in the same way that like Harold and Rox were cordial with one another, but their ambitions took them two different directions. It could just be the same thing. Or maybe I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not really confident in Loki and Blackbeard teaming up, but I wouldn't say it's completely out of the cards. Ivankov thought the dragon was relative to Whitebeard when they thought Whitebeard was still the strongest because he was in his prime. When did Ivankov think that dragon was relative to him? And Luffy can't damage Holy Knights. He just didn't know what he was doing before. It's pretty clear that Luffy could damage Holy Knights. So this technique that Loki showed, NIFLHEIM, is one of the 9 realms in Norse mythology. It's a realm of primordial cold, mist, and ice, often described as being filled with fog, frost, and freezing winds. Its name comes from the Old Norse, obviously, NIFLHEIM. And in Norse mythology, NIFLHEIM is one of the oldest realms existing even before the world was created. There's actually another realm in Norse mythology. There's a realm, so this is a realm of ice. There's a realm of fire called Muspelheim as well. Muspelheim. Maybe Loki will show a fire ability as well. Who knows? Lightning, ice, and fire. Some Kaido shit all over again, bro. All we need is wind. I guess Kaido didn't have ice, but he had lightning, he had wind, and he had fire. I think you're just talking about Eva saying that the Navy won't want to fight Dragon and Whitebeard at the same time. Yeah, I suspected that's what he was referring to, but see, I just don't like when people are trying to imply things that aren't really, like, you know what I'm saying, directly stated. They try to pass it off like it's directly stated, you know what I mean? But I figured that's what he was referring to. Do I think who is third commander level? Probably not. If third commander level you mean by like people like Cracker, then no, I don't. Heimdall is the only god that can access the realms. Must be Loki's fruit then. It's crazy that a squirrel's doing all of this. It's kind of crazy. Kind of nuts. Dragon is also more wanted than Whitebeard, who can destroy the world. Yeah, Dragon is not weak. Yeah, obviously not. Obviously not weak. Obviously not. Yeah, Dragon has the most dangerous ideology in the world. The worst criminal for spreading that dangerous ideology, overthrowing countries and causing revolts. Is Who's Who Jack and Paraspero level? No, I don't think he's on the same level as Jack. I'm not even all the way convinced that Paraspero is on the same level as Jack, but I can understand why people would say that though. I can understand why people would say that. Paraspero is not fighting two. He is not fighting two dukes at the same time, like in 12-hour intervals for 5 days. He's not doing that. I'm sorry. I don't think those two are the same level. Paraspero literally has the same feet as Jack on Wano. That's what I mean. I can understand why you'd say that, but I don't really think that moment in of itself is like I can't. I'll just leave it at that. I can understand why you say that, but I probably wouldn't make that take. Zage, I want to ask a question. Who's attacking Marijoa, Blackbeard or Dragon? And is Emu aware? If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably assume it's Blackbeard. If I had to assume. Sabo, Dragon and the rest of them were on like Ivankov's Island. I don't think they're doing anything up there. Probably is Blackbeard. Unless they mobilize that quickly after the Egghead arc. Maybe. Jack Neko Dogstorm. Calling Inu Dogstorm in Big 2026 is crazy. Jack Neko and Inu were all weakened, plus Carrot and Wanda was going to cook Paraspero. Yeah, I recall, actually I don't even remember exactly what was said, but I'm pretty sure Paraspero made it seem as though like, had it not been for the fact that the moon was covered by the clouds and they lost their Sulong form, they could have lost. He could have lost. Sorry. Let me see. Yeah, because of the injuries at the end, I don't know. I'm not really too sure. It's not really a takeout fight against, if I'm being completely honest. I don't really care if someone thinks Paraspar and Jack are on the same level, to be honest with you, but I personally probably wouldn't say. I think it's like a high-diff fight. It's probably pretty close, but let me see. Oh, what a shame. What a shame this for you, Moonlight Warriors. Like, your potential victory should require the luck of the weather above. It probably actually wasn't that hard for Paraspar to beat them. Like, he's huffing a bit, but it's actually probably not that difficult for him to beat them. I don't know. I don't care about Paraspar and Bradley. I don't even care about Paraspar and Jack enough to be thinking about this. I think Loki will betray Blackbeard if he joins the crew. He will destroy Emu and Blackbeard takes opportunity and get the fruit / magic book spell thing of Emu, and Loki fights and betrays. I think Blackbeard would use Garp as a bargaining chip, but if Dragon comes in and Akainu, we might have a showdown. And that's a lot to unpack. I'll be honest, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not. These days, I don't really think about too much about like the end game events. I don't really think about it too much these days, unless someone's directly asking me. I just can't. I don't know. I don't know how much I'm on board with Loki being on Blackbeard's side anymore, even if it's temporary or he eventually betrays him. I mean, he's already got one traitor in Kuzan already. He's got a fake subordinate in Kuzan already, bro. Yamato should have got the same treatment as Loki. Nah, that's a bit much. I can't lie. Bro, Yamato was cool in Wano. She was cool. She fought Kaido 1v1. Didn't have no help. held her own, held off Kaido until Luffy returned. She done her bit for a new character that no one was expecting. She done more than most people thought anyway. Yeah, Kyle, it seems like you have an agenda against Viz. And it seems like you're loving TCB. TCB is what you're living and dying by. That's what it seems like. Let me see what they said. Yamato also had a crazy fruit. She had like a mythical zone wolf that was a guardian deity of Wano, where it represented, and how she was trying to emulate Odin and shit. I think Odin done well. He said it was a close call. Warriors of the full moon, indeed. You lost to me simply because the weather wasn't in your favor. Oh, fair enough. You know what, bro? I think, you know, in translation like these, I'll just have to check the raws. Like, I literally have to check the raws just to see like which one is like more, what's closer to what's actually being said. Let me actually check it right now. Let me check it. But I think you can gather the same. I think TCB's translation is like probably more so hammering down the interpretation that it was a close, like, you know, Parasparrow kind of got lucky that it was a close call. Like, had it been any longer with the moon up and they were in their Sulong forms, it could have been wraps for him. Whereas here in the officials make it seem as though it's a bit up in the air what would have happened. But Carrot and Wanda's potential victory is contingent on luck. Let's see. Oh, I can't lie, TCB and Loki were cooking. Oh, TCB and Loki were cooking on this. So here's this translation. So close, full moon warriors. Your victory depends on the luck of the weather. Can't lie, TCB's one's probably a bit more. It is more accurate. Damn. Where do you scale Loki now? Above Kaido? I probably would say he's above Kaido, yeah. I probably would say that, actually. I think Loki with his injuries is probably going to perform something similar to Luffy. If he can perform comparable to Luffy whilst being injured, then he's definitely above Kaido. I think that's probably like the easiest way of putting Loki above Kaido. But some people don't even think Gear 5 is even Kaido level to begin with, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know, it's big 2026, you know. You would think people get over it by now, but I think Luffy's like the only thing people could ever say negatively against Luffy is like how long he can use Gear 5, but the power of Gear 5 itself at its peak is definitely better than Kaido's, stronger than Kaido. And if Loki can perform comparable to that whilst being injured, then he's definitely above Kaido. Might be on a completely different tier to Kaido at that point. It wouldn't even just be a matter of being comparable to Kaido. It would just be completely different tier at that point. Bro, you guys are really arguing. Paris, Sparrow, and Jack. I think Kaido can take a couple shots of Loki's hammer and sniff it and say, now I'm ready. That's nuts. That's a nuts way of saying it. Now we know one of the two fruits that Rocks needed. What is the other one? Probably is the Nika fruit. Probably is. You know what? So you kind of reminded me about something, Prince. I was getting people in my comments, my last video about the Haki versus Devil Fruit thing. People telling me that like, yeah, Devil Fruits is also cool because of Rox's plan and how he wanted 2 Devil Fruits. Like, as if Rox's plan had anything to do with him personally using 2 Devil Fruits to achieve some level of power to beat Emo or something. Like, it's clearly not what was going on, but it just kind of reminded me. Lola's dumb as fuck. That's why Big Mom hates Lola. Yeah, I can't lie, Lola kind of single-handedly kind of fucked up Big Mom's whole thing. The thing is, even if Loki got married to Lola, bro, like with the Elbaf warriors really just do Big Mom's bidding like that. I don't even know if they would, to be honest. Plus, she got like a weaker era of Elbaf anyway. These guys got nuded of their pride. I was actually when I was rereading it, like, I kind of noticed quite a bit. Like, Luffy and Usopp were disappointed. They were not impressed. They were not impressed about the current Elbaf children and how current Elbaf is. They're getting raised to be peace lovers and shit. Thinking, damn, where did that warrior's pride go? They didn't really condemn it, but they were like, damn, that's a big shame. That's a shame. That's kind of how Luffy and Usopp came across that shit with. Whereas Ripley's teaching Colin on the side about what a warrior giant really is. So it kind of goes to show you, like, if Usopp and Luffy saw Dorian Broggy and that representation of Elbaf warrior pride in Little Garden is portrayed to be something that's like positive, and then that sort of pride is what's missing from Elbaf currently. Harold has made a big mistake. He went too far one way. But you guys are going crazy with this Perispera Jack shit, bro. That shit gotta get nipped in the bud. That shit gotta get nipped in the bud. Usopp of the Henry Ward cussing him out. Usopp's right. Usopp was right about them kids. Them kids were being peace-loving. They got pacified badly by Harold, man. Harold kind of fucked them up. Luffy meets Collins, at least one of you got some backbone. Where was it? Where was it when Luffy said this chapter? It might have been. Whenever he said it. Maybe it was the one after. But they were not impressed. Oh, here's where they talk about Loki. It was about 6 years ago, I believe, that Red Hair caught Loki rampaging at sea for us. Yeah, they made it seem as though Shanks done it on their own behalf. Anyway. This chapter's ending off with Sanji carrying Gaban. He's going to get healed up. I guess Gaban's going to get healed up a little bit so you can protect Colin. We'll see Luffy, Loki going to be in action soon. That's going to be the duo of this arc pretty clearly. We'll see how their synergy look. End of Elbaf Jinbei versus Katakuri is a discussion. I don't know. Depends how much stronger Jinbei really gets. I actually don't even know how you would be able to backscale anyone that Jinbei fights to Katakuri. I don't know how you'd be able to backscale that. Can't imagine that you would be able to do that, to be honest. If anything, whatever Jinbei does might just be a Katakuri upscale. If those characters don't backscale to him. If anything. Are you calling Joro Drewski, bro? What the fuck? Well, that's Gaban gonna tell Sanji about Conquest Haki about to go crazy. Yeah, people, them Sanji fans better be right about that off-screen moment of Gaban telling Sanji about Conquest Haki. You might have it too. That little panel of Sanji on the side gasping a little bit. Harden not even in his own father's flashback. He was there. He was just there a little bit. Harden is cool, bro. He's like, runt of the blunt line is crazy, but in terms of strength, he's definitely the runt, 100%. Carla Ida kind of nerfed Harden kind of badly, low key. Ida's eggs had no potential in them, no potential. Doesn't matter how strong Harold was, he wasn't hatching anything. He was hatching nothing with no potential, bro. Sad to see. Sounds about to get some lore about it while going to the Sun World. I guess we'll see. Otherwise, I don't know how he's going to be damaging these Horror Knights, so I guess we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. We're on a break, so 2 weeks from now we'll be back. Hopefully we get some better action than just some random monster getting frozen up. Not really moved. You know what I mean? Nothing really much to talk about. I feel like everything that we've been talking about is just extended conversations. Nothing really new. It's just extended conversations. But hopefully we get something a bit more grounded, you know? But yeah. I'm just going to end off the stream there. Appreciate everyone that pulled up, stay to the end. Join the Discord, link to which is in the description below. I'll catch you guys on the next one.